What is up, my friends, and welcome to another video. Today I am on the road, so the audio in this video, it's not usually this bad. I want to apologize up front. If you don't notice a difference at all and don't really care, that's great. Let's continue on. But if you do notice a difference, I apologize up front because this is definitely not as crisp as it usually is. On the road having some microphone troubles. So today what we're going to talk about is this new, well, not new, but there's now 6 lawsuits against JP Morgan. This was published back on the 13th, but I want to talk about the lawsuits that currently exist, and I want to go back in time from when JP Morgan took over, bought out all Bear Stearns positions, and took over their silver short position, and just kind of everything that's gone on with JP Morgan and its current state, because it is really a big player, and the FSB actually looks at it as the biggest threat, the biggest conglomerate bank, and says that it would be detrimental to the global economy and surely cause a global economic crash if JP Morgan were to go down. So there's interesting international pressure on this whole situation as this continues to unravel. Now, this is the quickest that I've seen Zero Hedge article in Bloomberg come out, impending lawsuit happen. So right now, there's at least 6 lawsuits, all making similar allegations against the nation's biggest bank. So it is actually considered the nation's biggest bank. Have been filed in the last month in New York federal court. The cases could potentially include thousands of people who trade in the precious metals market. I will tell you what, because most people, most gold bugs, most silver guys, commodities guys, they hate JP Morgan. If they can jump on this, they will. So this lawsuit is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, especially if they open it to a class action. A combined case seeking class action. Oh, it is class action. So you can assume that they're going to jump on board. Literally the next sentence. A combined case seeking class action status would include anyone who purchased or sold futures contracts or an option on the New York MEX, platinum, or palladium, or COMEX, silver or gold between at least January 1st of 2009 to December 31st, 2015. That could be such a huge amount of people. It really could, because COMEX is big. And New York MEX, I've never looked at platinum or palladium, so I'm quite ignorant when it comes to that, so I can't speak on that, but COMEX is big. So this all stems from, if you guys remember, I shot a video talking about gold and silver manipulation finally admitted publicly. Yes, metals traders, ex-JP Morgan Chase metals traders came forward and were working with the FBI specifically about market manipulation happening in the precious metals market for years. Now, this is actually really good to me because, you know, you got stock market that's been around over 200 years. You got these markets that have been around for a really long time, and these guys just think they can get away with anything. I wouldn't say it's a point of like fair, not fair, but if there's going to be I'll say this, if there's going to be a regulation, if there's going to be a law, then it should be universally and unbiasedly held to, or everyone should be unbiasedly, unanimously held to that stature, to that law, right? That's fair, if you want to call it fair. And it really is that simple. So a combined case sinking, okay, so we already read through that. So yeah, it's interesting development. This is getting more and more press time. This is now the second piece that I've seen written about this. But let's take a step back now and talk about where all this came from. Now, there's a couple really, really good in-depth pieces that I'm going to link you to. One on I Am Trading, and the second one is on Sprout Money. I'm going to link you to both underneath the video that you can read through, each one maybe a 5 to 7 minute read if you want literally details of the whole history. But here's how it went. It went a little something like this. Bear Stearns back in 2008 was on the brink of collapse. JP Morgan got a sweetheart deal. We all know why. They forced and pressured this situation. They got their bailout, but somehow convinced the Fed and everybody else to exclude Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns went down. JP Morgan scooped them up for $2 a share, took over their entire silver short position, which was already the largest. So now JP Morgan, right now to date, has not only the largest amount of physical silver, but it also has the largest short position in silver, which is the perfect hedge. So they hedge hundreds of millions of contracts, hundreds of millions of ounces of silver in contracts, and then they pick up spot physical silver. So right now, and I've read different numbers on this, so it's round about these numbers. Right now, they have 1.6 million ounces of physical gold, and somewhere between 114 million and 133 million ounces of silver. I've gotten ranging numbers. I know that's pretty big big range, 15 million, give or take. But anyway, so they are the largest physical silver holder in history. So we have the 1980 Hunt Brothers and we have the 1998 Berkshire Hathaway positions that are brought up in this piece right here. So you can read through this. I'll have this underneath the video as well. This just breaks down literally the entire history. I think this stuff is really interesting, and personally I'm somebody who, I've got my own opinions and my own worldviews, but I love to read the actual facts and then formulate my own opinions based on that. And I know a lot of people that watch and subscribe to this channel are the same. So you'll get all the links underneath the video. But it's interesting that not a lot of people even know that. That in and of itself, just by being a market whale, that's not necessarily market manipulation. But if we go back to 2008, 2009, there's some interesting things that started to happen in silver through 2010 and 2011. If they can prove that a whale that has a huge position, well, by far the largest position, was up to no good, and they can prove that, well, that's going to be the first guy they're going to go after. They're going to go after the biggest guy that they can make an example out of, or the lowest lying fruit. So it's either the biggest or the lowest lying fruit. And sometimes the biggest is the lowest lying fruit because of the publicity, and they know that. So that we're talking SEC, we're talking FBI. I don't know who else would get involved. DOJ, maybe? I don't know. So many three-letter agencies in the US, it's hard to keep track sometimes. But that's what they're looking at, okay? And so now that you've got some metal traders from the floor, from JP Morgan, that are now actively working with the FBI, and you've got, it's already public knowledge that they were holding the largest silver position. They didn't actually start accumulating physical silver until about 2011. Is when they started accumulating massive amounts. I just find this all very interesting and coincidental. So there's a lot of really good resources and charts in here, as you can see as I scroll through. But what was the second thing I wanted to say here? Basically what was happening is they held such a large short position that they had huge exposure, and I think they were starting to get negative press from this because they were all short and held very little physical, if anything. So it wasn't until about 2011, April 2011, that they actually started really adding physical silver to their inventory. A few months removed from outspoken financial commenter. Max Keiser comes on TV November 2010 on RT, which if you're not familiar with him or RT, you're probably not that heavy into the precious metals market or global economy for that part, because RT I think does a fairly good job, and they're definitely more of an alternative media source. But anyways, he came on TV and he had already known about how big their position was. He wasn't the only guy talking about this, but he had arguably one of the largest audiences to reach. His plea was buy silver, crash JP Morgan, because JP Morgan was just shorting paper silver, so they would have gotten stomped out. They would have been liquidated, which would have been insane if that actually happened. Could you imagine that? The largest holder of silver short contracts gets liquidated. I don't even know what would have happened, honestly. It would have probably led to at least a U.S. economic panic, because JP Morgan is such a big player. It's a huge custodian, huge bank. It's got so many different arms and branches. It's involved in a lot of different things. But after that, we have April 2011. They actually start to, in that spring, they actually start to accumulate. And here's the chart showing that. Pretty interesting stuff, right? They had almost none, and it didn't start until April, and they started to pick up physical. I share all this with you because the situation going on with these lawsuits is much bigger than I think people realize. The ramifications, you can come to your own conclusions on what would happen if JP Morgan does get taken down in some sort of way, or they become insolvent in some sort of way because of liquidity issues due to these lawsuits that are about to hit them. But time will tell. This is something that you should definitely be keeping your eye on. If you're a metals guy, then you already knew this. I'm telling you stuff you already know. But if you're just kind of in these markets and looking for moves to make, definitely be keeping your eye on this, because I actually think that this will insanely affect the price action on gold and silver. Not just the news pieces as the news breaks, but as this actually unravels and litigation is served, that will affect the price action of gold and silver. So get your money ready and get ready to buy if you're looking to come in on some more positions on gold and silver, whether it's physical or on contracts itself, which I would assume there's a lot of people that are starting to open up shorts or gonna open up shorts as this lawsuit unravels because of what it could mean. All right, that's all I got for you guys. So if you want to show us some support, just click the like button. And if you want to comment below, if you've got something to say about what we just talked about, I'd love to hear your feedback. Do that below in the comment section. And if this is your first time to the channel, click the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. And if you want to support us from a financial standpoint, there's going to be options below. We sell merchandise, t-shirts, phone covers, all that fun stuff, with just motivational quotes and different designs that I think you're really going to like. Fits our demographic, or seems to. And we have a Patreon below as well, well if you want to just donate us some money. Believe it or not, a lot of times we're taking a serious amount of time to research this stuff and put together all this information, and a lot of my day is dedicated to this work now, and it's because I absolutely love it. And so any and all support that you guys show financially is just amazing, and I just want to say thank you right now up front. So that's it. Be on the lookout. More videos dropping on the channel soon. Bye.